Welcome back, everybody, to the Breakthrough Moment podcast. We have Marilen Crump here, special guest tuning in from America. Thank you so much for being here.
Lovely to be here. I'm so happy.
Yeah, me too. I'm super excited. For those of you who don't know Marilyn, she's an expert dream catcher. She's been an entrepreneur for over 24 years, and she does business development and strategy. And so 24 years. I'm so excited to pick your brains. I'm sure you have so many amazing breakthrough moments. And for anyone who's at home joining us for the very first time, the Breakthrough Moment podcast is to share the breakthrough moments that successful entrepreneurs have had throughout their career. So taking us into those moments that they had an aha moment or a new realization or a new strategy that changed everything for them so that us at home can have those same breakthroughs as well. So without further ado, Marilyn, would love to know, what were your breakthrough moments throughout your career?
I think, you're talking about this whole journey. And sometimes, when I have this conversation with people and say, how'd you get started in business? I answer like this, that I got started over an ice cream sandwich in middle school. And so people go, what do you mean? And so what I did really love to do back when was draw pictures. And so I was really good at sketching stuff. And then a friend of mine said, hey, I'll pay you 50 cents to draw something for this girl that I like. I said, okay, great. So I sold this drawing for 50 cents, which was back then, way back then, was the price of an ice cream sandwich. So I was like, wait a minute. You mean to tell me if I just sold a drawing every day, I can literally get an ice cream sandwich? I still love ice cream sandwiches, but that really was that first breakthrough in really capitalizing on a talent. And so then it just progressed from there. While I was in pretty much middle school and high school, I would sell my time. I sang songs for people during birthday parties, and that would earn me like $100. And I was like, whoa, this is a lot. Like from 50 cents to $100. Like, this is crazy. Like, where's my life going right now? So then I picked up HTML coding back in the 90s. So we got AOL dial up, and I was so excited. I was like, I'm going to teach myself these cool things. And then little did I know that that's going to be a valuable thing moving forward. So I actually got some work as a high schooler coding websites. It was crazy. So again, this big breakthrough kept happening, saying, I guess I don't need to work for anybody because I'm discovering ways to like earn money. And so, yeah, I started my company. And we said this was over 24 years ago. I was a senior in college, about to graduate. Year 2000 was when I graduated. Started my official business, grabbed the URL Art Inspired. I was doing a bunch of different things, working for myself as a freelancer, doing web design. I was taking photographs back when it was film photography. So anything that I could pick up and learn and then convert into money, really, those were the first breakthroughs in the beginning of my entrepreneurial journey.
That is so interesting. Wow. Okay. They're taking us on the journey, taking us through the aha moments as breakthroughs. So cool. So interesting. And so how have those breakthroughs shaped your mindset today? Because it sounds like those are key philosophies now for any entrepreneur, and you had it at an early age. So how has that shaped, I guess, the rest of your career so far?
Sure. So when I was growing up, I was observing my parents who immigrated from the Philippines to the United States. And a lot of their perspectives was you have to live the American dream, work really hard, and they would hold down all these jobs just to make ends meet. I'm very thankful for that. But that working class mindset just was confusing to me because they were always so stressed out. They would complain about different things that was beyond their control. And I kept thinking, like, why are people living like this? I don't like that idea that I would have to like study very hard just to work for somebody and then feel the way they were feeling. So a lot of what was like going on in my creative mind was that I love the way I feel when I'm being creative, when I'm sharing my gifts and I'm, making exchanges with people. I'm not seeing that in my parents' day-to-day life. So how can I make my life different? So I went the whole route, made everybody happy. that I went to college, got that degree, and I didn't tell them that I changed my majors halfway through until they, got my diploma and walking across instead of a Bachelor of Science, I got a Bachelor of Arts. And so it was like partly too, I was finding that my stubbornness in those things, like just really listening to myself, was a huge type of realization too, because I was a people pleaser. I loved my parents, would never want to disappoint them, but there was something gnawing at me saying, you're okay if you want to live a different path. You're going to be all right if you don't want to choose what they've chosen for you. And I think as an entrepreneur, you're going to stick out. You're going to do things that people don't necessarily believe in, or they're fearful, so they want to project a lot of fear onto you. And you have to go through this kind of weird journey to say, even though not everybody's taking this path, I'm okay. Like, you really have to keep reminding yourself that it's okay to have these failures, because you have the right to keep expanding beyond your failure. You're learning new things that's going to make you more lucrative. And that's part of like the big lessons that I've really, and still use to this day. You're talking about how is that keeping me developed now, is that I know I'm going to still fail. I'm working towards the next failure, because I know the next failure is going to bring me to a new aha moment. And you and I were talking the other day, and I said, one of these big aha moments I had was when my husband and I were chasing the total eclipse, like who does that? I did a bunch of research. I'm like, I'm gonna chase the eclipse. I know you can't just stay in one place. I'm gonna chase it. So I'm very systematic in creating a goal and having this vision. And so we were driving, and I said, while we're doing this, I'm gonna figure something out. And I said, I've been trying to figure out, like, what is the system that I keep doing over and over and over again in order to achieve my goals? And I know that since I'm now in that position where I help other people, there should be this thing that can just quickly coin and explain. And you had mentioned my title, Expert Dream Catcher. Well, I love dream catcher motifs. And one thing I was thinking about, like, what if the word dream can unlock something? Like, what is that? So we were noodling through things, talking back and forth. I said, wait a minute, I think I got it. I think it's D for direction. You have to know where you're going. As an entrepreneur, you have to have a vision. And I said, the next step, the hardest step, is R, relinquishing. Because if you don't give up certain things, you're going to keep doing what you've been doing. But then also there's things that you should let go of, like either expectations from others, but then also maybe you got to give up a little coin to earn some knowledge. So there's that R. And then E is efficiency. If you don't figure out your efficiencies early on, then it's going to slow you down. So the thickest chapter in the book, Think and Grow Rich, is organized planning. So people don't realize that. They just think, I'm going to think and I'm going to be rich. But if you think about efficiency, happens in organized planning. So DRE, which a lot of people don't do, they just sometimes take action, which is A. So action, once you have those first three things taken care of, you can do in a more inspired way. And then that's where you can kind of really attune to what you're supposed to do next in order to reach M, momentum. So momentum is that goal point. You can do it over and over again. And then there you go. If you do it in that order, ding, 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 then it's like, yes, I'm going to accomplish this goal because I know I can track where I'm at in certain things. If something's not quite right, I need to give it up a little bit before I can even work on being efficient with it. So take that system, that's the big breakthrough I had to kind of say, this is it. This is how we do everything. I don't care if it's cooking your food to, making a big audacious goal happen. You have to dream it up.
Wow, what a cool recipe. What a great acronym. I think that's a definite take home, that should be written as a, on someone's calendar on their wall. That's a great reminder. From creating art in primary school and buying an ice cream to now creating, business and, paying it forward. You've obviously been through many experiences over the last 24 years. What would be your biggest piece of advice for other entrepreneurs right now who are maybe seeking a breakthrough and they're kind of stuck and they're like, how do I get to that next level?
Absolutely. So one thing I say repeatedly to people is that one, perfection isn't real. So let go of that idea that you're going to be perfect the first time around, especially as an entrepreneur. Make those mistakes. And since you're in that mode, the next part that I say that is, fail amongst people that love you. So not everybody's going to appreciate what you're doing. But I think if you take those two things in mind, like perfection isn't real, and then fail amongst people who love you, then you're kind of keeping your mentality in a strong way. You're not being too hard on yourself, but then also you're making the right connections and you're surrounding yourself with people who really understand, or even maybe they don't understand, but they're supportive, because that's all you would really need to make it big time happen.
So simple. Keep it simple and just do that. So good.
Do that.
Now, I love this question. So if you had a time machine and you could go back to the beginning of your business career and change only one thing, what would that one thing be?
I think with some things I probably would have just gotten started earlier. I guess if I look back on my journey, just if anything, maybe if I just got started earlier, because the first in the breakthrough normally is the one that wins out. So if you had a community already set up before pandemic, it was online, you made out pretty big that year, because people were just flocking to that. So if you see an innovation, and if you have even an inkling that you're going to try it, just get started. Do it early, fail early, then you figure it out faster, and then you're going to be first to the scene.
100%. 100%. If we're not failing, we're not getting that feedback every day. How do we improve? How do we get to the next level? I love that. So the world's changing so quick with AI and technology and all these advances in innovation. Do you have any bold predictions, or where do you think the industry is going specifically? And how do you think it's going to be disrupted, if anything, from AI and technology moving forward?
I believe it's definitely disrupting, and I'm disrupting myself. Like if you're in this space and you're kind of really looking at the tools that you used to use last year versus the tools you're using now, I mean, it's blowing my own mind. And to the point where I get like frustrated with myself that I am like, I'm going to be obsolete. Like, because I know that, wow, if I figure this out, someone's going to figure it out tomorrow and maybe be able to accelerate that. So I think there's going to be a lot of this like heart to heart you're going to have with yourself as an entrepreneur, because the tools are changing even faster. And especially if you are messing with AI, you definitely see that some things are just developing without even your own input. Like even in many different types of markets, like the tools that didn't have AI yesterday, now when you log back in, oh, we have a new AI component. Like then you're like, wait a minute, all the things that I was already working on are switching around because these new settings are there. So that's one big thing. And I think in order to stay innovative, I believe that you have to still learn how to connect with community, because part of what you're transacting with as an entrepreneur is always that other person on the other side of that, paywall. So how do paywalls change when it becomes like all of these like easy to reach results from AI? Where do you fit in on the paywall? I believe that we still fit in as supporters of each other. So building a community is even more pertinent right now, so that you can say, hey, y'all want to unplug from the AI? I have something to offer. And so thinking about what that means for you and your business would be, I think, a good zone. I don't know the future. It's moving by so fast. I always say, like, put your, pulse on something a little bit. Like maybe you don't believe in things like Bitcoin, but I feel like just put even a few dollars in there and see what happens, right? Like you don't believe in AI? Well, I don't know. Use ChatGPT for one sentence and see how you do. But like you can't be afraid of what's going on, but also you gotta have to wrestle with yourself eventually. So I think that's going to be our largest predicament.
It's so interesting, isn't it? It's like sometimes we get stuck in our own reality of like what's right and wrong and morals and beliefs and what's possible. And yeah, it's like the new things like Bitcoin or AI, they kind of come in and what is it? It's like creates change and maybe uncomfortability and like, oh my gosh, things. But like, for example, gosh, the television or the smartphone or, Wi-Fi and internet, these things have disrupted and changed the game, but also created a lot of innovation, as you said, and a lot of opportunity. And so it's exciting to see for those that are willing to embrace and move with the trends, what's possible, because yeah, using AIs, this creates a massive efficiency for sure. What would be one of the most important messages you'd like to share with the listeners today?
I think it's just finding yourself in everything that you do. I don't care if it's business or relationship, and just taking a walk down the street. Eventually, that's with the end of this journey. That's what we're going to be looking back on. Like, what did I do with my time while I'm here on this plane, right? Like, I always want to think about like, how many people did I smile at? How kind was I to somebody who may not be having a good day? All in all, I feel like that's the biggest take we can have. And if you're a business leader, I mean, all of that just to me helps assist in that success as well. So if people want to do business with you because you are, kind and you do things that you in your power to help them, then that just helps your character all around. So I feel like that's the biggest advice I could give.
100%. Is there a challenge? If you could challenge the listeners or suggest, hey guys, go do this today. Like, this is what you got to do. What's that challenge you'd like to inspire your listeners?
Sure. Well, since this is for entrepreneurs also making breakthroughs, I think one big challenge would be like take a full assessment. Like, when was the last time you took a full assessment of everything that either you've learned, you're dealing with now, and where you want to go? If that's not somewhere in a big old map, I feel like you should definitely take a moment, like shut yourself off from the world for like 3 days and then go through those things. Like, one day is the past, one day is what you're doing now, one day is the future. Just give yourself time to take assessment, because I feel like even as entrepreneurs, we might be saying freedom all the time, but you get stuck in ruts and you get stuck in like, wait, what am I doing this for? Like, wait, how did this one idea that was so exciting now become like drudgery? So as an entrepreneur, I think we have to give ourselves permission to just look at the big picture again. If you need to reinvent, but that's a challenge in itself. It's like letting go of something that you've already gotten so comfortable with, but maybe you're not growing there anymore. So that's what I like to push people to do and think about before the next year.
That's so important. Do an audit, do a review. And yeah, when do we spend a couple of days to reassess and take stock on what's working, what's not, and what's the directions? That's super important. How can people get in touch with you, Marilyn? And how can and tell us what is the biggest problem that you solve in business, and who is it that you work with the most?
Sure, absolutely. I love creative entrepreneurs. I also, find that those who are seeking a new level of support is definitely the type of people I like to work with. You may be feeling alone in your entrepreneurial journey, or you might think that my idea is just too crazy and I can't monetize that. I'm here to at least, run it by, and we'll take those assessments together. So the best way to find me is by looking at my website, marilencrump.com. Also, if you look up hashtag expert dreamcatcher, it should land you there. I'm on LinkedIn, also Facebook, and now currently I've been toying around with Substack. So if you haven't been on Substack, go look me up on there, because I'm experimenting with like 4 different publications. And so one of them is to support people who are just getting started on Substack. Another one is if you're an emerging speaker, I'd really love to help you out, because I feel like the more we can use our voices collectively, especially as entrepreneurs, I think that's going to open doors for a lot of other people. And I'm just here to help. Really, doesn't matter to me if it's somebody who's already been in business or just starting out. We can always bring our brains together. And if I'm not the one to be of service, then I have enough people within my reach that I can point you in the right direction.
So good. What is Substack, by the way?
Oh, I always equate it to like if Twitter and a newsletter had a baby, then then you would have Substack. And remember what I mentioned was be first to some of these spaces. So even if you're just starting to hear about it, and especially if it's a platform that's free to get established on, so it's free to create a Substack, claim your name. So if you have a specific brand name, you have your own name, go to these spaces as soon as you start hearing a glimmer about, hey, people are starting to adapt this. You don't want to get there too late and then your name's already taken. So Substack's great for long form content. If you are creating a podcast, could be another space to put your podcast in. They've been, working on new innovations. They got just big funding from their last fundraiser for this platform. So definitely check it out.
That seems really cool. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. It seems like the theme is you start early, jump in the ring, reassess, figure out what you're good at, go for that. Be creative, right? Surround yourself with good people, and follow your dreams, follow the acronym, make it happen. So this has been super insightful. Thank you so much for your time. Everyone at home, please check in and get in touch. I'll put the links around here somewhere around the video for everyone to get in touch with you. But I really appreciate your time. This has been an amazing conversation. Thank you.
Thank you, Zac. This is an awesome subject that you're putting together, and I'm very honored to be here.